welcome, everyone. We've got lots of people coming in. Hope everyone is having a wonderful hump day. It is Wednesday. Welcome to the CMM community. We are excited about this new series. Lots and lots of people coming in. Welcome to Jane and Karen. Good to see you again. Jane, glad to have you here. Always a big fan of yours and what you're doing. Wow, we had 73 registrants today. So
Wow.
let's see how many we have showing up on the call today. We've got a lot to talk about, particularly when we discuss caregiving in the workplace. So I'm gonna wait another couple minutes here. We've got a couple more coming in. This is being recorded, so we will be repurposing that content in our CMM community. And for those of you who are new to the community, the Complete Manager Makeover is our human resources support and training subscription. It is actually the information that is obtainable through the Complete Manager Makeover book that just was released this August, actually, of which I just authored. It was a 2-year labor of love, but it launched on August, and we had an opportunity to take it pretty much national. We had a small focus launch here locally. We are in Miramar, Florida, and the Complete Manager Makeover really is the training and development arm of HBL Resources, the parent company. So welcome to the CMM training and development subsidiary, if you will. And we had an opportunity to launch the CMM, the Complete Manager Makeover for short, because that's a lot, in a couple of words. Here locally in Miramar, Florida. And then we were able to talk about it at HR Florida. We went up to Orlando. We did some speaking on content there, did the CMM, the Complete Manager Makeover Masterclass, and then was able to attend the SHRM, Society for Human Resource Management National Conference in Las Vegas. Yes, we went to Vegas, baby. And that is where I do believe I met Eric. Yeah, I don't know if it was HR Florida or SHRM in Vegas, but Tootris is our sponsor this year, and I want to introduce you to Eric Cutler. Our webinars are always sponsored by organizations that we believe can really help with our mission of transforming the human in human resources. If you've been with our community any length of time, you know that that's what I'm passionate about. And when I come and engage and find these great resources, for example, Tootris, I want to bring those to the community. So just really briefly, for those of you who are already on the call, there is a giveaway if you stay through the entire webinar, as well as the demo that'll start right at 3 o'clock Eastern time. Eric is in the California, San Diego area. So for those of you on the West Coast, welcome to the CMM community. We'll be delivering about an hour of content in terms of how employers, or how as you as managers, right, don't just have a conversation about human resources people. This is for all managers of people. So we'll have that 1 hour webinar. We do have the HRCI and SHRM credits. You must respond to all of our poll questions during the event. We will have 3 key words that you need to know to be eligible for the $20 DoorDash giveaway that is sponsored by Tootris, Eric Cutler. So before we go on, I want to welcome Eric Cutler to the community with Tootris. He'll say a few words, and then I'll get started on the webinar, and he'll come back for the demo of what I am sure you will be floored with this technology and what they're doing over at Tootris. Eric, welcome to the CMM community, and thanks for sponsoring us today.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you to the CMM, and thank you for everyone attending today. Wow, what an introduction. I'm really excited to hopefully follow all of that rah-rah with some really interesting information that'll help you succeed personally and also help your organization understand a little bit more about the challenges that working parents are having today and some really easy solutions to overcome them. So more to come on that. And I'm just going to kind of listen in and really enjoy the next presentation here.
Awesome. Thanks so much. We look forward to the demo of your amazing technology. I know it'll be of huge value to our community. So let's get started with this conversation about caregiving in the workplace. You know, I'd love to engage with you in the chat as well. I have it queued up. I've got lots of different windows going on this end, but I'd love to hear from you about whether or not you have been in a situation, or if you currently are in a situation that you are a caregiver currently in your workplace. So go ahead and let's get engaged in the chat. I'd love to see some of that feedback. I know I have been a caregiver in the workplace, and this could also very well be, you know, those of you who are caregivers to elderly parents or special needs children or children in general. So go ahead and put in the chat whether or not, or use the reactions button. And again, engagement is necessary in our sessions, especially so that we can have a two-way conversation. Yes, thank you, Valamir. She's been both in the past and now. I'm fortunate right now to be an empty nester, so all of my children are 35 to 25. They're grown and gone. I don't have those caregiving needs, but I certainly was a caregiver and have been in the past as well. And that's where this conversation begins, in that it really is the reason why I brought and bring this content to you all. So I want your permission to have a little fun. I think that it's important that as we go through life, we are going to be challenged with caregiving. And for me, I had the awesome honor of taking care of my father in his latter years right here in my home. So I want to share a little bit about that story, if you would. And some I see are caregivers now. Definitely people who are interested, you know, in this topic for a reason. So let's have a little fun. I love to, you know, express and share my story, because my father raised his children, me being one of them, to really infuse humor in everything that you do, especially in the trials and tribulations that you would encounter. And so my story with my dad actually begins in New York City. My dad was a resident of Queens, Corona, in New York City, and he had the trifecta. He had lung cancer, COPD, and emphysema. So you can just imagine the needs were so great for him. And he was in New York, and Dad, you know, I always said, Dad, you know what? The minute you're ready, you come on down, you stay with me, you know, come to sunny Florida from cold New York. We want you to make sure, you know, that you're well taken care of. I want to take care of you. And he, of course, you know, proud dads as we have, right? He said, yes, I'll call you when I need you, I promise. And I said, great. Okay, I checked in all the time, made sure with his, the girlfriend of 20-something years, you know, checked in with her. But one day, I got a call, and my kind of like mother-in-law, right, said that Dad had fallen. Dad had fallen at home, and we didn't know. She didn't know how long he was there because she wasn't able to be there. She had her own grandson to take care of as well, so she bounced all around. And we didn't know how long Dad was there on the floor, right? So can you just imagine your parent and hearing this information? I said, you know what? Proud Dad never called and said, hey, it's time. So I needed to take charge of that. I flew out immediately to New York City. I was, you know, in business, and had several clients as well, and realized that, you know, I had to get up there quickly and get him down here. And he was in a hospital in Queens. I won't name the hospital. There's a reason why. Because no one in the hospital could help me to tell me, how do I get Dad from New York City to Florida in my home? So you can imagine, I went to the social worker of the hospital. I went to local resources. I called his health care company and I said, I've got to get Dad to Florida so I can take care of him. He couldn't stay there anymore. What was I going to do? And I tell you what, it was about 2 days, and he's in the hospital. He's been admitted. The minute I get there to New York, we realized he needed to be admitted into the hospital, and we were there for quite some days, and nobody had the resources to help me figure out. I couldn't fly him. Dad couldn't even stand at this point, and his oxygen needs were too great that we couldn't even put him in an airplane or a medical kind of transport vehicle in the air because we couldn't get the oxygen that we needed. So quite the dilemma. Friends, I tell you, I Googled the heck out of this dilemma and came up with an organization that I definitely want to shout out. It was ACC MedLink, okay? Now, ACC MedLink, for those of you that are staying for the demo, ACC MedLink is going to be one of the keywords that you must know to be eligible for your DoorDash e-gift card. If you don't know all three keywords, you're not getting the gift card, okay? So write that down. ACC MedLink is one of the keywords. So I find this organization, and $7,500 later, this van shows up in Florida. So we had commuted Dad. It was a 24-hour trip. ACC MedLink had the van. It was a Sprinter van. We had an RN in there, a driver in there, and it was me and my little sister who were able to take the trip because they had that much space in this van. So fast forward a little bit to, or backtrack a little bit. In one weekend's time, my husband, God bless him, created a private area in our home. You see this image here. This is actually the formal living room of my home. You see some cabinets on the side there, and those were purchased from IKEA and, put together at a moment's notice. And Dad's, we made some changes. We moved the bed to that yellow wall so Dad could look outside that window that has this beautiful tree outside. And that's my daughter, my youngest there. And as you can see in this picture, there's a bed, a hospital bed in there. If you look right under the artwork on the far right hand side, the oxygen was there. Everything was ready for Dad. And everything was ready for Dad because thank God for my local Chamber of Commerce. I had reached out and just kind of had to figure it out. We couldn't, wait for the intake conversation with the hospice care. He needed to go from van to room the minute he arrived. And fortunately, I was able to coordinate all of that with Catholic hospice. Dad was a Catholic, and so I was fortunate to know these individuals in my chamber. But what happens when our employees don't know and don't have these resources? They are going to look to you, the human resources person of the organization, for these services. That's the resources part of human resources, in my opinion. And so we were able to get all of that taken care of, fortunately, because of the connections that I'd made. And I got to tell you, it was not an easy journey. I would stay on, Facebook with my family. I involve them of what was the newest happening with Dad. And as you can see, I'm going to share with you some of the social media posts that I shared with them because I had to keep that sanity, and I did so with humor. So I encourage you to do that. But let's really dive in a little bit to this conversation, because I think it's important to note that, 1 in 6 employees is a caregiver for a relative or a friend. And we may not even know that as human resources people or managers of people in our workplace. And typically they spend more than 20 hours a week providing some sort of care. And some may not even realize that what they're doing is considered and is in fact caregiving, because it can range from anything as simple to, calling and helping out, pick up some groceries, or even, shopping and picking up medications, scheduling doctor's appointments, or even providing transportation. Those are some of the fundamentals, but it can be expanded when we have to support the daily life, such as bathing, dressing, eating, and in some cases, caregivers learn medical skilled services, including wound care and blood pressure, taking temperatures, things of that nature. And that really does fall into that category of caregiving in the workplace. In fact, 25%, and it's creeping up very, very quickly, of millennials are caregivers in the workplace. So what are some of these fundamentals? We have to understand some of these issues and why this is happening. You see, life expectancy continues to increase. We've made advances with medicine. People are living longer. Our baby boomers are aging. And many times, again, this 25% millennial population is taking care of that aging parent. So in addition to that, we also see that 60% of female and 40% of males are actually those individuals who are in the workplace but maybe a caregiver somewhere at home. So it's important to understand that demographic so that we can address the issues, because they really are very unique to each person. People are remaining in the workforce longer. The likelihood that they need to balance caregiving and work at some point truly is a universal reality. Now, I want to share with you that much of this research that I'm sharing, some of the statistics, comes from the AARP Public Policy Institute. And many of these statistics have grown since that last survey. And you definitely want to make sure that you're addressing the needs, because there are some, even in light of, diversity, equity, and inclusion, males and females have different needs. And I did a webinar or a LinkedIn podcast about the impact COVID itself has had in that workplace. COVID has had some massive changes and impact in caregivers in the workplace as well, because we've seen it increase, even if it's for that short period of time where we have someone that is in the workplace and potentially, I'm gonna lock the room, I forgot to do that, sorry about that. So individuals that are focused on caregiving in the workplace, definitely something that we need to think about. And one of the things we need to realize is that sometimes employees, again, they don't even know that they're taking on these kinds of responsibilities, depending on what those are. And employees still don't feel comfortable discussing their caregiving responsibilities at work. And that's a culture shift that we need to start to make, where it's okay to share those things so that we as an organization can ensure that we're addressing their needs head on. And often our employees are feeling isolated, they're feeling depressed. It's really drawing and dragging their emotional experience in the workplace. When I grew up, it was, oh, leave your problems at the door when you come to work. And that is just not anything I've ever prescribed to. So you definitely want to realize that these stressors, the feelings of isolation, depression, it's going to impact your engagement. It's going to impact your wellness. You want to make sure that, when you look at the impact that the caregiving stressors can create, it can lead to illness, such as diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, obviously creating more problems for the caregiver, but also higher health care costs for you as the employer. And even when we talk about, children having the responsibility of, maybe I've got a perfectly healthy family, but I have the additional responsibility of caregiving for my young children. finding childcare. I mean, I cannot even imagine what was going on in 2020. Fortunately, I had all my kids grown and gone. I didn't have to deal with what do you do and how do you make that transition to having, Susie Jane right next to me in the office with the computer at school and navigating that, because all of the caregiving, all of the care providers, child care providers, were closing en masse, en masse. And so obviously this is going to have a huge impact on employee engagement and your wellness programs and things of that nature. So, when I think about the experiences that I had, I've seen things you people wouldn't believe, and I saw things I didn't even want to see in that, and that creates its own stressors as well when your employees are navigating this process. So the culture you create in your organization is critical so that your employees feel supported, so that they have the ability to have common ground with others in the workplace. And it's up to you to create that culture of awareness. So how do we do that? What are some of the things that we can do? When we create a culture of awareness, we first need to understand the challenges of your workforce. And so it really should start, I would recommend, with surveying those individuals. Surveying, if you've got an employee engagement survey or an employee opinion survey that's going to be coming up real soon, add some questions about caregiving in the workplace and include it to ensure that you are covering those who may not even realize that that caregiving title belongs to them. Ask things like say things like, if you're caring for an aging parent, if you are taking care of the needs of young children, right? And maybe even put their ages, right? From 0 to, 16, right? And not that it ends at 16, but, so that they can self-identify what, the caregiving role really is. You want to as well, take a look at how you're crafting maternity and parental leave policies and redefine how sick days might be able to be used. It used to be that, I had to be actually sick to use a sick day. In fact, I just changed a policy with an employer who had the PTO time that was separate, right? The vacation bucket and the sick bucket. And we found that it wasn't really working out well. So we combined those into a PTO program. Listen, if you want to, take a vacation day, a mental health day, or go see, Jane or Johnny on the soccer field, you have the flexibility to use those benefits as you deem necessary. So family caregiving, doesn't have to be finite in terms of, maternity or paternity. It really has changed vastly in the last few years, and it really becomes something that we've got to look at in terms of parental leave in our organizations. Now, keep in mind, many organizations actually have, or many states rather, have mandatory time and thing of that nature that you have to be aware of. So I'm just getting a drink here because I'm talking your ears off, I hope. So we definitely want to make sure that, we define what those maternity and paternity leaves are. How can you expand it in your organizations? Because the need for caregiving, can arise at any moment without warning. My dad's story happened in a moment's notice, and I had to respond, and that could definitely be the case with you and your employees as well. And that could be due to a sudden hospitalization or a need to spend several hours on the phone to find backup daycare at home, and that's where Tootris can come in and help support you and your employees in that way. So when we look at you having the unique opportunity to support your employees in managing that continuum of care and those obligations, you're definitely going to reap some rewards in the form of engaged and productive employees, gaining a competitive edge in retaining and recruiting employees because you are able to help meet those needs outside of work. It's definitely a talent recruitment and retention tool. You're going to see reduced healthcare costs as a result, and you'll definitely have a workforce that is much more loyal. Identifying caregivers is important. Say that 3 times fast. One moment, please. Let me drink out of my Tootris cup here. We definitely want to see the employee well-being, and then the managers who are prepared to assist and support, to train your managers to be aware and what to look for in that situation. You may have a situation where an employee who has otherwise historically always been an excellent employee, engaged in the workforce, coming in on time. When we start to see shifts in that as a manager or as a human resources executive, these are the kinds of things we want to train our managers to look out for. A sudden use of extra time off or needing more flexible time, 2 hours here, 4 hours there. What's going on? Are we taking care of someone? Do we have that caregiving responsibility that is causing that shift for that employee? So ask those questions. It shouldn't any longer be taboo for managers to really start to engage with employees on that human connection, because that's the resources and the human part of human resources, and that human resources hat is worn by people managers as well. So again, there may be sensitivity to the caregiving stigma. People may not want to share that. So this isn't going to be something that overnight you'll start to have employees self-identifying. That's going to take time. But as you build your culture of awareness, as you begin to put policies and procedures in place to help support your employees will begin to see how the organization is responding, and in so doing be able to continue to have the conversations and be more comfortable in having those conversations. But you've got to make the commitment to changing that culture, to be more responsive to the employees' needs. If they don't see that really occurring and it's just lip service, your employees won't be forthcoming and share that they have those needs. Start with developing, again, a company-wide understanding. Share this video. Hopefully in the next week or so, I'll provide the recording information and have that available to you. Share this conversation with your leaders and your managers so that that begins a starting point for that awareness. Include how caregiving represents a risk for depression and chronic illness, loneliness, isolation, all of those things, in addition to potential substance abuse issues. So we've got a bigger reason to bring this conversation to the forefront, because employees, caregivers, they won't seek out the caregiving related support that they need if they're struggling, because they don't self-identify. They're not confident that the employer will really be the support that they need in their time of need, whether that's because of an illness or a child care situation, whatever it is. But you as an employer can now begin to connect these dots for them, see caring for an aging parent or a sibling as part of the same support continuum of services and benefits that your organization can provide. It really is that first line manager who often is negotiating those day-to-day accommodations. They must be well equipped and have the conversation about equity as well. This is not the women are the ones that are taking care. You saw the statistic, 40% of men are also caregivers in the workplace, and we see that continuing to rise. So believe, if an employee or a caregiver doesn't believe that their manager has the discretion to work with them and create flexible arrangements, they may not come forward with the request for assistance. So it really starts at the grassroots level of your organization and what processes, procedures, and benefits you're going to be putting in place. Now, keep in mind that, managers at all levels need to be aware of the company's policies regarding flex time, the ability for people to work remotely if their positions, qualify for that. Not all positions can, right? If I'm an engineer and I fix lights in the building all day, can't really do that remotely. So add that to your job descriptions. You've got the section that says, are they, a key employee for the reasons of FMLA, family medical leave, but are they eligible for remote work? Is the position eligible for remote work? That's part of ensuring that your policies and procedures are in place so that you've got something definitive in terms of, can you offer flexible remote work for these employees based on the position that they hold. This way it's not an issue of, oh, I'm letting Jane work remote but not John. It is listed in that job description, so that's a great thing to do and update. And again, encourage your managers to support their employees with the benefits and programs you're putting in place. Even if employees, like I mentioned, don't feel comfortable, that stigma, it really is something that your organization and the culture needs to create in order to ensure that your employees are coming forward and sharing their needs. So I want to take a moment and see if we've got any questions. I don't see much happening in the chat, but what questions, if any, do we have out there with our community? If I am looking at the chat, so if you want to definitely put some questions in there, I will be taking a look at that and ensuring that we get many of those questions covered for those of you who might be instituting these kinds of policies. So great question is caregiving support and resources also available through employee assistance programs? It really does depend on your EAP, your employee assistance program. Oftentimes what we see with EAPs is the support for counseling services, things of that nature, licensed mental health practitioners, sometimes legal services, right? Maybe you've got to navigate a power of attorney. I had to navigate a power of attorney process for my dad so I could take care of his apartment and home and finances and bank accounts. And dad didn't have a will. So if you don't have a will, I highly encourage you get a will. And if you need somebody in Florida to help you with that, I know somebody. So these are all things that typically an EAP can help you navigate. Unfortunately, we didn't have that. Fortunately, I did have my network of chamber community that I was able to connect with to meet some of these needs. So it does depend on the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, Valamir, and whether or not those are the services that you've contracted. Next question, are there groups that caregivers can join to maybe motivate each other? Absolutely. I am bringing you Tootris today. They focus on childcare, but we are queuing up another conversation. Stay involved in our community. We've got other care providers, much like an EAP, but kind of on steroids, to address that as well. And nothing prohibits you, Linda, from ensuring that you can create an opportunity in your workplace for them. Maybe they can use the break room after 5 and stay until 6:30 to connect and spend some time together going through that camaraderie. If you do have an EAP, they may have services where they can bring in a counselor or a licensed mental health practitioner to facilitate those conversations in the workplace. But even if you don't have an EAP, you can still say, hey, if you've got caregiving needs, if you want to meet others in the workplace who have those needs as well and are caregivers to their loved ones, then, come to the cafeteria at 5 o'clock every month on Wednesday or every 2 weeks, whatever your organization can accommodate. Nothing prohibits you from doing so, but there are many support groups as well, and I'm going to get to some resources as well, so stay tuned until the end. You'll have lots of resources on that as well. There are organizations that deal with caregivers problems, and like I said, stay tuned, because I have an opportunity for you to grab onto some resources to put you directly in contact with many of the national organizations that can help you. And believe it or not, AARP is one of them. So keep that in mind, but I'll definitely get some of those resources to you. So hang tight for those of you who are looking for resources. That's what we're all about, is bringing you resources. So when you think about building on workplace policies and the benefits and things of that nature, there was a survey, it's pretty old, from 2017, that, and they surveyed 130 companies, again, AARP in collaboration with a healthcare organization. And the respondents said that, if they could implement two new programs, policies, benefits to support caregivers, they would expand leave policies and coaching and wellness support services designed to support caregivers. So you're asking the right questions. They are definitely spot on. So when you look and review your leave time policies, let me make sure I am advancing my slides here. When you look at these policies, we definitely want to ensure that we've got the C-suite buy-in, right? You've got to get the individuals who are going to be in charge or leading the charge involved. So how do you do that, right? You can't just go in and say, oh, we're changing all this stuff. You've got to have that C-suite buy-in, that C-suite support. And so you want to share the insights that you're learning today, some of these statistics and information. You want to make sure that when you're having that conversation, you express what your policies are, what some of your competitors might be doing. Do a survey and, access the Bureau of Labor Statistics, bls.gov, bls.gov. That is the Bureau of Labor Statistics that can help you with some of the why, some of these statistics and information, because providing employees with some type of paid leave when caring for someone might be the single most important consideration that you can make. And you've got to have that corporate buy-in. So in addition to that, what are some of the other things that we can do is, have them, your C-suite, share their own experiences. You may be surprised to find out that the C-suite that you need the buy-in from are the very ones that are also having these current issues but haven't mentioned it to make that global impact in your organization. For some employers, especially those competing for talent, and who isn't competing for talent right now, there may be less of an emphasis on the return on investment and more in providing benefits to attract prospective employees. That could be the difference in terms of competing for employees in the workplace, especially in this current workplace and workforce market. Think of it as a soft ROI, return on investment. Any measure that reduces the distraction and lessens competing interests will lead to fully engaged employees. So what does that look like? That may be looking at productivity levels, looking at your healthcare statistical information to see, do you have, and obviously you'll have to make sure that those who have the healthcare information are protecting that information. But what are your wellness costs? What is happening in the organization? And could those increases in, like I said before, hypertension, diabetes, overweight issues, could those be attributed to the caregiving in the workplace issue? You want to take a look at what might be happening in terms of, are your C-suite employees experiencing anxiety, depression, loneliness, isolation, all of those things that we talked about, because they also have, sometimes more time and energy to take better care of themselves. That we may not see that as much in that C-suite than we do maybe in our line levels. So offering a range, again, of caregiving benefits sends the message to employees that you are invested in them as an individual and their emotional, physical, and mental health. And one size doesn't fit all. These kinds of benefits, again, they help to retain, they help to recruit, they enhance employee loyalty, and they create a culture of respect as well as, I guess, transparency, so that we can start to have these conversations. So making that business case is really important. See what other companies are doing, find the data. I'll share a way that you can get some additional data with a digital copy of some of the resources that this content really comes from. And that solution may be to bundle multiple services. Ask your current EAP, ask your healthcare carrier what resources they have. Oftentimes, we forget that the organizations that provide us with our medical, dental, vision, life insurance, disability, all of that, may have the resources, but we fail to ask and tap into that resource. So if you've got a carrier that's providing health benefits to your organization, you definitely want to ensure that you are reaching out to them, because they may have these benefits, or at the very least opportunities to come in and train your staff in caregiving, have a lunch and learn, things of that nature. And again, sometimes you'll have that claims data, you'll see the medical spend. Again, employees aren't always self-identifying, so maybe that claims data, that medical spend, can help you see, do we have some of these issues existing in the workplace. But nothing better than a survey of some sort, an engagement or opinion survey. Really, it's an engagement specific, so that you can address the needs of your specific population. Don't just throw something on the wall and see if it sticks. Find out what your employees need. Ask them, they know best, and then see where you meet in the middle. So I'm coming up on the 2:42 mark. I am going to give you another keyword for our DoorDash giveaway. And again, if you don't have all three keywords, you are not having lunch on Tootris, okay? So the next keyword is actually the state that my dad lived in before we relocated him to Florida, and that is New York. So the next keyword is New York. And again, you need to have all three. So go ahead and write New York down, because that'll be one of the keywords. So what is the solution to engaging our our C-suite? We've got to enlist the senior executives, and again, have them help to introduce the benefits. Find out if they have their own caregiving story, like I shared with you. Develop the lunch and learn programs through a carrier or an outside organization to come and educate your employees about caregiving and what your company is doing to support employee caregivers. Definitely tap into your EAPs, professional associations, things of that nature, and find out what resources they have. And I'm definitely going to give you lots and lots of other resources, so stay tuned. But you want to make sure that you provide how-to orientations for managers. These are spaces and conversations that our managers are not equipped with, and that's what we're passionate about. The CMM, the Complete Manager Makeover, is not just about human resources compliance skills, but it's about the soft skills necessary to provide our managers with to have these tough conversations and not shy away from them. The challenge can be that we don't have the resources internally. Maybe we don't have training times or a training manager, what have you. Again, reach out to the providers that are giving you your insurance and things of that nature. Find out what they have, because that is an extension of your human resources department. So think of those creative ways to satisfy those needs. So in addition to that, I often remember, checking vitals with Dad during his time, with us. And that was something that I knew absolutely nothing about. I didn't know about blood pressure machines. I mean, sure, I could take the temperature. I mean, you can't be a mother and not be able to, take someone's temperature. But even having medical professionals, who are your local participating hospitals? Do they have resources to come in and share and teach caregivers the proper ways? And doing this now not just because you have caregivers, but remember how I said you never know, at a moment's notice someone could become a caregiver just like that, and they'll already have those skills that they learned because you thought strategically enough to know this is a growing issue and let's address that. And whether they're a caregiver in the workplace now or not, encourage that attendance so that you can equip them before they need that service. I had no clue. I had to figure it out, and fortunately I did, right? So when we're implementing caregiving benefits, again, check with your current vendor offerings, share the C-suite stories, market and promote these benefits to employees. So often human resources really doesn't do the proverbial pat on the back, look what I've done, look what I've created, look what I've changed. We've got to be our own marketing department as well, so employees really do know what it is that we're doing for them to meet their needs. And again, we talked about the EAP considerations and of course management training and the CMM, and I am, as you know, head of HBL, am happy to navigate this with you and provide those services as well and be that additional extension of you in your human resources department, especially my loved human resources departments of one. So what are some of the resources? Now, I definitely am going to give you an opportunity to get a handout or a digital copy of some resources, but I wanted to share a few things before that. We really have tapped into a lot of the information that AARP and their family caregiving network have navigated. We definitely look at the statistics that I shared. Those come directly from AARP, and obviously, you know, there's always going to be some of the concerns and things of that nature. But some of the resources that I wanted to share, I'm going to go ahead and put some of these in the chat so that you have those available to you. The AARP Caregiving Resource Center is an organization. It's really a one-stop shop for tips, tools, resources for the employee while caring for a loved one. And so that link and that resource is right there in the chat for you. So you may need some local resources. Maybe the National Association is somewhere you start, but you definitely want to have some additional resources in your local community. These are resource links that can help you find services, help them, you know, keep track of medical records and health records, and help them find services right there in your local community. And again, I'm a huge fan of AARP. Yes, I got my letter in the mail. I haven't signed up yet, but that's another webinar. But definitely reach out to these organizations because that's what you're asking for, right? How do we get the help? And then there's an elder care locator as well. The Elder Care Locator is really a public service of the U.S. Administration on Aging. Who knew that that was even a thing? And they also can help you connect to caregivers in your local areas. Now, don't forget about things like the Family Caregiver Alliance. That's caregiver.org. They offer tools and resources as well, including the Family Care Navigator, a state-by-state list of services and assistance. But I got to tell you, you know, Tootris is our sponsor today for a very specific reason. And I had a little bit of a demo. I cannot wait for the demo, you know, to share with you and see a little bit more as well about them and what they're doing. So definitely stay tuned. You'll check them out because they are really cutting edge in terms of that as well. So don't forget about the National Alliance for Caregiving. I think I put the Family Caregiver Alliance in there as well. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And then you've got, obviously, you've got Medicare. Medicare needs to be navigated because if you're dealing with, like my dad, right, was the Medicare landscape as well. And they obviously provide information on their programs, their plans, their providers, and they also have a caregiving tool on their website to compare home health care agencies and nursing homes. So that's something, and for me, you know, that was just not an option for us in our family. I always knew that I would take care, or we would take care of our parents in their elder care years, and so that wasn't an option, but that might be the right option for you and your family. It is a very personal decision. So keep in mind that the Social Security Administration, gosh, you know, we've got to navigate that as well, because there may be eligibility and benefits that are available to your loved one, especially if, you know, they're Social Security eligible at that time as well. So again, I can go, you know, hours on this conversation, but keep in mind as well that AARP also provides information on advanced directives. Advanced directives are things that, you know, are state specific, so that you can help, so that your loved one can provide information about what do they want done in the event of a medical situation, you know, things of that nature. So I won't go into too much detail there, but, you know, advanced directives are important in addition to that will and trust and estate planning. So all of those things are super, super important. And like I said, you know, it was really surprising to me that the hospital that my dad was in didn't have the information or the resources for, you know, to help me get dad to Florida. I had to figure it out, and so I'm passionate about sharing these resources with you. I think that it's important, and there's tons and tons of others. You know, there's also, you know, you've got to consider Leading Age. Leading Age is an organization that helps with long-term care facilities as well. So that would be something that you may need to navigate. And now these are in your arsenal, my friends. Whether you're a people manager or human resources manager, now you have an arsenal of resources that you can put together as well. So keep those things in mind. And then, you know, there's condition, you know, and disease specific advocacy organizations, the Alzheimer's Association, American Cancer Society, Diabetes Association, Heart Association, blah, 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 blah. I mean, you can find those associations and see what resources they have. Let them come in and do some lunch and learns on a, you know, if I was an HR director, again, back in the seat, and I've had a 30-year career, so I launched my firm 10 years ago, I would have each of those associations come in once a month, and Alzheimer this month, and American Cancer next month, and diabetes the next month, so that we're providing the information to our employees before they actually need it. So definitely something that you've got to consider. So the next thing I wanted to do is take some questions. We've got about 7 minutes left. Any questions? Let me see the chat here. I know I've data dump, right? I shared all this information with you. You guys are writing fast and furiously, I'm sure. But, you know, definitely pop in any questions that you might have at this time, so that we can kind of navigate a little bit more about what your specific needs and questions are as we continue this conversation. So, and feel free to open up your video. I'd love to see you just as much as, you know, as anyone here. So feel free to do that as well. I might start making that mandatory. So look out, people. You know, no gift card without your videos being on. So yeah, definitely let me know what questions. I don't see anything. So how can you gain some additional resources? So I'm going to share this with you. If you'd like to go ahead and, you know, take out your phones, grab a screenshot of this really quickly. If you text the word caregiving to this number, 415-528-7403. Again, text caregiving to 415-528-7403. 7403, and you will get you'll enroll in our community. You will get immediately caregiving resources, many of which I did put in the chat here during this webinar. But if there are any questions, I would love to navigate a few more of those for you guys. And stay tuned. We are having these on a monthly basis. I'm going to continue to bring new resources, new information, and stay till the end, because I've got some survey questions and stuff. So I am going to go ahead and share that share a poll question. The final e-card eligibility question just before we go into that demo is fun. I hope you had a little fun as we talked about my dad's story, as I shared with you some of the real social media posts that I shared with my family to keep my sanity and keep humor and fun in the process. But I'm going to go ahead and launch the e-card eligibility so that you can go ahead and answer that poll question, and those will be curated. I'll be able at the end of our demo, once we shut down, to capture all of that information. So go ahead and hopefully, let me see, Eric, thumbs up if you see the poll.
I see it.
Awesome. So again, if you want to stay for the demo, obviously you got to stay for the demo, but answer the poll question. What are the 3 keywords that we talked about? And I'm not going to repeat them. You had to be listening and engaged the whole time. I want to be a good steward of my sponsorships dollars. So go ahead and put that in, but I'll also take any questions at this time as well. So if anybody's got any questions, would love to hear. And you've got to have the poll questions answered correctly to be eligible for that DoorDash gift card at the end of the demo. So any questions out there? I don't see any. Hopefully I was able to give you guys some resources that you were looking at, and some ideas that you could put in place in your workplace. So with that, I am going to go ahead and once again, I'm going to close that poll in 5, 4, 3. You've got to answer the poll question correctly. 2 and 1. I will be ending that poll. So those of you who were able to participate in that and answered the 3 keywords correctly, you will receive that if you stay through the to the end. Let me make sure I've got those captured. Awesome. So it is my pleasure to welcome to the CMM community and to our stage Eric Cutler. Eric Cutler and I met, I believe it was here in Vegas, right? Eric, you were here in West Coast. And, I oftentimes, I go into the expo trade show area. We were able to, participate in the trade show. We launched the CMM, the Complete Manager Makeover there. And I'm always interested in being the eyes and ears for you all to be more of your bench strength. And so when I come across organizations, services, products that can support you in supporting your employees, whether, again, you are a human resources manager or a manager of people, that is what I am committed to do. And so I am excited to bring Tootris to the community. They are actually going to be in 2022 partners in our membership programs. So if you or your business is a member of the CMM, Eric is going to share a little bit about what we've put together. So Eric, it is my pleasure to give you the stage so that you can share a little bit about what amazing you guys are doing over there at Tootris.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around here. Really fascinating hour spent learning a little bit more on the other side of the candle here. We've primarily focused on early childhood, childcare, and everything under that umbrella. Certainly helpful for me personally and professionally to learn everything in the last hour. So I took a lot of notes for myself. So thank you, Lisa, on that. And so everyone, I'm going to really quickly cover three things that I think will help you personally and professionally. Is cover the changing landscape for parents based on what we see with employers. You'll learn a little bit more about what employers are doing out there, kind of their options when it comes to supporting parents and their childcare challenges. And then a little bit about Tootris, what we do, how we help, and the kind of the problem we solve. A little bit about me. I had chubby cheeks as a baby. There's fact one. I am actually, I like to say that I'm a product of childhood investments because without giving you a long story, I moved out to California with my mom, and she, very young, and she was a single parent, working along as a cashier. Wasn't able to break that glass ceiling there. Actually, even wrote a letter to management with the help of now, and wasn't able to break that glass ceiling, and then started trying to take college courses nights and weekends. And if it wasn't for the available childcare that she was able to place yours truly into, daycares and kind of after school cares when I was in elementary school, she wouldn't have been able to get to where she was professionally. And I may not be sitting on this virtual stage. So I am very aware personally, both as a child and as now a parent. There's my daughter there. She's in two types of childcare. She is 10 now, and after school she goes to an after school kind of YMCA type program, and then during summer she's in a summer camp, right? So that is the reality of parents. They're juggling different types of solutions out there that can help them, stay employed and stay productive. I also love, Lisa, you mentioned earlier about the helpfulness of chambers. I'm a big chamber. I'm so glad you said that. I'm a big Chamber of Commerce advocate. If you haven't partnered with your local chamber or gone to a meeting, I just went to one last night. Fantastic areas. These are groups that are your advocates when it comes to policy, when it comes to small, medium, no matter what size organization you are, they're just really helpful, and they have a plethora of information. So kudos to you on that, Lisa. You're all over it. So we're going to talk about childcare. You probably heard about childcare. If there, silver lining of the last 15 months is it's really turned a giant spotlight on the impact childcare or lack thereof has on working parents, especially women. Women in the last job report of last year, all the job losses were in women, right? So, and the number one focus of that was childcare challenges. They're staying home to stay, look after their children, and or childcare availability just isn't there. They live in a childcare desert. Lots of currently things on the agenda from the childcare infrastructure perspective. What we've seen as we work with employers, and you'll learn a little bit more about how we work with employers in a few minutes, but we've seen that schedules are all over the place now. We're seeing organizations that are, before they were not able to do hybrids, now they are doing a hybrid work environment. They're letting employees maybe work from home a little bit. If that employee has that availability, that's what they're doing. And now we're seeing in job recs that the kind of remote and or hybrid, a lot more organizations are kind of more flexible for that. That doesn't mean the childcare challenges for working parents are solved. If anything, if you were planning on your partner or maybe grandma lives with you and she's going to watch the kids, well, now they're all up in your business while you're trying to work. And so just because you're home doesn't mean that's checked off the list. That just means that your employees, your team members are probably doing juggling acts when you're not looking. And that's less productivity from you when it comes to a bottom line perspective. Obviously, as an employer, you always dictate those schedules, but just be increasingly aware that just because it's a hybrid solution doesn't mean that they're not still drowning in either early care or elder care. As Lisa was talking about, that is a full-time job if that is also one of the hats you are wearing. So employers have a big problem when it comes to working parents. Harvard Business Review put out a good article about this. Being the childcare is a business issue, that the impact of childcare is in the double digits when it comes to employees having to reduce their work hour, having to or leave the workforce altogether. That's no good. Many parents don't have real backup options. They may have, if they have something set up, they don't have anything in their back pocket should that fall through. And if someone takes the short straw, that is unfortunately women, working moms, and that is not okay. So we need to just throw it out on the table. It's a hard, raw fact, and be aware of how the options are out there to fix it. So what are those options? Well, there's a couple here. You can do nothing. That is a option that many businesses are doing today. On-site is something that has always been the kind of traditional option. Hey, let's build an on-site care program. For all the probably obvious reasons to you, on-site care may not be practical for just about anybody. You can be a Facebook and still build an on-site care facility, but if you have 40,000 employees in 18 states, an on-site facility certainly isn't going to help solve the problem. It's a drop in the bucket. And there's all sorts of other things, from liability insurance and staffing and scheduling, not to mention if you're a manufacturing company and you're going to build an on-site childcare facility, you are not a childcare, that is not your business. So why are you trying to enter it? You can partner with childcare centers. There are organizations, large ones like KinderCare and Bright Horizons, down to local ones in your community. The challenge of that, again, goes back to availability. This is, even a KinderCare, which is the largest provider in the US, has 1,400 locations. They have 90 in the state of Florida. Are you going to have them all strategically next door to all of where your employees live? Probably not. So there can be some challenges when you're partnering with organizations. Plus, it's another thing to manage. FSAs are similar to HSAs. Hey, this is a great tax-free incentive that helps solve some of the cost problems, and FSA programs are good, oftentimes underutilized, but they are good. The problem though is it doesn't solve the access and availability problem. Reimbursements is something that if an employer is really going to get involved, how can I make childcare more affordable for my employees? I'm going to ask for a reimbursement. I'm going to set up Kelly or Kevin in accounting. They're going to have another hat on their shoulders or on their head to now process reimbursements on a monthly basis. What qualifies, what doesn't qualify. It ends up being a pretty sizable headache. And the last one here is partner with Tootris. We provide, and you'll see here in just a moment in our demo, we provide all of this, all the tools kind of above, outside of on-site childcare. We provide the access, and if you want to do it, the cost sharing, there is a nice asterisk at the bottom there. There is a childcare tax credit form that you can apply for through the IRS and get up to 25% in tax credits should you qualify for just about any of the decisions up here outside of nothing. So there is some incentives that the IRS does offer to you. The form is form 8882. And I can coordinate with Lisa and get that out there if anyone has a question, or put it into chat for a link for that. But that is a big financial incentive, 25% up to $150,000 a year in tax credits should you take up any of the kind of initiatives listed herein. And what is really in it for you? There's really 4 areas for my perspective. It's great for productivity. If I'm, I love my sister, but she has her handful already with 2 other kids. Throwing my daughter over there kind of makes me a little bit paranoid that she's probably maybe glued to a TV or an iPad and not doing something educational, constructive. So that's losing my peace of mind. Now I'm not as productive. So having childcare is great for productivity. It's great for absenteeism. The lack of childcare issues is the #1 absenteeism reason for working parents. Hey, this week my daughter is in it's half days all week for some reason because Thanksgiving's next week. So why not just make parents' life a little more difficult? Unfortunately, my employer didn't give me half days all week. So how am I going to bridge that gap? If I didn't have that plan, if my childcare provider doesn't have an extra couple hours for me, I'm in a bad place, right? So now I have to either take off work and or call in sick, or and now we're losing productivity from me. Also, of course, lack of childcare can push employees out of the workforce altogether. Nobody wants that. It's also great on the other end for recruiting. It's a weird time for hiring. It's a competitive landscape, especially for particular roles. That can be customer service, that can be essential workers, and everything in between. Having childcare assistance and benefits in that job rec, on that LinkedIn Indeed ad, that can be the big mover that brings a highly valued talent acquisition to your team. It also says a pretty important thing about the moral compass of your organization. Even if you don't have kids, this is an organization that clearly has their ear to the ground when it comes to great benefits to support their employees. So it does say a lot, and it's a great tool from a market if you're going to put your marketing hat on and apply for those best places to work awards by the local paper or the chamber. This is something that I would utilize to kind of help qualify and set myself up from the rest. And then it's also better than a pay raise. If you're going to give me $1 more, I'm going to be hit with taxes. It's going to cost you from a burden perspective. If you give me $1 towards the cost of childcare, well, I'm going to use 100% of that dollar towards the cost of childcare. That can be tax exempt, and for you, there's that benefit as well as that potential tax credit. So kind of win-wins from that perspective when it comes to raises. There's also, I didn't put on here, if you're a parent and already qualified for a certain subsidy program, usually those are capped at a certain salary. So if you make more than that, yes, you're making a little more money, but you could take 2 steps back because now you don't qualify for a subsidy program that's maybe a federal or state subsidy program. So a lot of employees I don't want to raise. I don't want to get a better position because that's going to, yes, I get a little more money, but I'm losing a subsidized childcare program. Having a childcare benefit cost sharing plan can be the best of both worlds for that employee. So what is Tootris? We're going to jump right into that. Tootris, we are a technology platform. We're available on any device. We have iPhone apps, Android apps, and we partner with employers as well as childcare providers, so we can provide your staff a huge network of childcare providers we're in about 46 states now. We have 170,000 childcare providers in our network. Really, the 3 core takeaways here is we have every type of childcare provider, from kinder carers to in-home childcare providers that are in the communities we live in. We are the only real-time platform out there that allows you to see that availability down to the hour, up to a year in advance for your working parents. And we partner with employers to offer this great benefit to your staff. We give 24/7 support. We like to call it white glove, a concierge service, so that every single one of your employees understands what's available to them, and we can help them along the way. Some people have interesting circumstances that they might need an additional help with. Maybe they're 2nd or 3rd shift employees and they need to kind of navigate those waters. We also have dedicated bilingual staff that are really aware and help place employees that have maybe a certain need or language barrier into the care facilities that they feel most comfortable with. And there's no work for you. Isn't that the nice thing? This is an additional service or job that you have to now take on your already overloaded shoulders. This is something that you can, it's a turnkey platform. So you're gonna see what you're gonna see here in a moment. It runs on its own. You don't need to do anything other than kind of help us set it up for you and your staff, and then point them to if any of your management team or any of the managers that have people even hear a whisper of an employee that's having any sort of childcare challenges, just throw them over the fence to Tootris. We'll get them placed into care. We can find backup care for them. We can do drop-in care. We can do full-time care. Maybe, childcare, we don't make childcare cheaper because childcare providers deserve every single last penny they get and then some. But we do make it more affordable, and we do that by finding childcare programs that are near you, helping you qualify for subsidy programs out there. There's over 1,000 programs nationwide, And there's not really a good system or guide to find those out, but we are the experts. So when your employee comes to us and they have a very specific budget and a specific need, we'll be able to consult them into a program that fits their budget, schedule, and location requirements. That's what we do, and that's kind of how we help. And now it's time for the demo. So I promised it would be a short presentation here. And so here we are with Tootris. So this is Tootris. I'm going to demo this in this next 12 minutes here. I'm going to demo it from my screen, but as I mentioned earlier, we do have dedicated iOS and Android devices for apps for parents. So, you know, most parents that are having babies, they're millennials, Gen Ys, and Gen Zs. They are, for better or for worse, glued to their devices. And so we have a great device experience that they'll get from that, but we're going to show it on here because it's a little bigger for the screen. So the first thing that we do when we partner with an employer is we give those employees access to Tootris. They go on to Tootris on whatever device they feel comfortable with and create their account. So I've created my account here. I have my benefits page. I am an employee of the awesome company. And the awesome company, being awesome, is partnered with Tootris to offer childcare assistance, resources, benefits to their staff. So that means that every staff member that signs up gets their employee benefits page. As you can see here on the right-hand side, I've got my 24-hour, 24/7 contact information that I can pick up the phone at any time. Maybe I don't want to, you know, maybe I'm on the road. I don't want to app and drive. I can just simply put this on Bluetooth, speak to someone inside our center, tell them more about what I'm looking for because I'm in between clients or in between meetings, and she or he can research that, give me the programs that fit my need, and I can go ahead and kind of take it from there. In the middle here, I see my benefits information, my start and end date. This is just like any other kind of benefit or perk. The biggest difference is it doesn't require an integration. It can be rolled out at any time, and it's super easy to roll out. There doesn't require any setup, heavy lifting, or software installation from you. It's kind of just say set it, and we give you all the materials, and then you forget it because we are doing all the work for you. And on this benefit page down here below is all my usage. So if you do offer a cost sharing, this is built into Tootris. If you do offer a cost sharing plan, you can offer this however you'd like. So we have employers that do a fixed percentage base. Hey, I would like to, with a $5,000 a year cap, I would like to support my employees' childcare up to 50% of that cost. Other employers will do something monetarily. Hey, $100 a month towards the cost of your childcare. Use it or lose it. Either type of situation, it's really easy, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a moment. It's really easy for them to use that monies towards where it matters most, childcare. We can also even get down really granular and cover how, you know, actually set up eligibility for different age groups, right? This is set up for 0 to 12. That's usually the most common element because, you know, there is after school care and whatnot, but you could do maybe 0 to 5, 0 to 6 if you want to just cover infants and toddlers. So we set all this up for you in a quick call, and then kind of unleash it and help your staff use this program. Once you've kind of overseen your benefits, you're going to go ahead and add your children here. So I've added my daughter. As you can see, she's a little bit older there, but she's a really cute baby. I've also added this little handsome guy, Eric Jr. Eric Jr. is the son of Eric, and I can see that right here. I've added myself as the primary parent. I've also added, there's my mom. I've also added grandma here for emergency pickup. This is a modern service. So that means your parents, your working parents, your employees, once they use the platform, they'll add their emergency contacts, they'll add the pickups, they get push notifications when those children are picked up and drop off. They also get, by the way, a number of different benefits through the app. They can do FaceTime, they can get pictures back and forth. It's a modern experience for people that expect a modern type of service, and that's what we provide your employees. Once they're ready to look for care, they're going to go and hit that Find Childcare button. And now they've got a kind of, you've seen this before, if you've ever used Zillow or, you know, Yelp or other applications, you've got a map on one side, some cards on the other side. So we see here a number of different icons. These icons are representative of different types of programs. So we see little blue icons here. Those are in-home providers. Those are usually the ones that offer care between 8 and 14 children. They're in the communities. They're about 70% of the childcare ecosystem. They're also great for like a nice home-based environment, not too many kids, and typically it can be up to 30–40% of the cost of a center. On the flip side, we've got some centers here in this view. I've got 268 total in this view, but I can see a couple here. Centers are going to be more in business districts, right? They're going to have a larger accommodation. Oftentimes they can be a little more expensive. But then on the flip side, boys and girls clubs, I'm a great proponent of those. Those programs can be really cost effective, especially during summer. And we have all these types of programs in our network. And then on the right, I see a couple childcare providers. One of the first things I want to highlight is that real-time availability. So I can see the number of slots that these programs have. And I can also do a comparison tool. So I've got this little comparison button. If I'd like to compare, let's just say these 4 providers here. I'll click the comparison tool. I've never compared these programs before, but the nice thing is Tootris allows me to see these programs side by side. I can go down the list and see how they're, things like language. I can go program distinction, times, etc. So this allows me to understand, hey, if I'm looking for a program that supports evening support because I work a second shift, I see, of these 4, only these 2 actually supported evening. These are going to be a better fit for me and what my schedule's needs are. Once I found a program that I'm looking for, and I'm keeping an eye on the clock here, I've got 9 minutes. I'll try to take 6. Once I found a program, I picked Celine here and her program. She's got some nice photos of her program there. I can learn a little bit about her and see her program. And there it is. It's a home-based program, so that's really helpful for me. I can see on the left here some more information about the program, the distinctions that make this program special. I can see your licensing information. I can see her child ages and the kind of capacity and hours, including her calendar. So I can understand that she's actually open on Thanksgiving if I needed that. That's pretty helpful for me. And then on the right, I can see all my engagement tools. So Tootris is a standalone platform. So we allow parents to not only navigate their area, but also message the provider, hey, I've got a certain question that isn't answered on your profile page. I have a question that I'd like you to give me a call about. Please give me a call after 4 o'clock. That's when I get off of work. Now I'm not doing this on company hour time. I'm doing it at a time that works best for both of us. And here's my question. I can also schedule a tour. So scheduling tours is pretty important. I want to go ahead and do an in-person tour. Maybe on Mondays, since I don't work on Mondays, that's going to be good for me. Tours are really important. This is all, of course, dictated by the provider. So some providers feel a little more comfortable about that than others, given the last kind of 15 months here. And so the tours are really important. And then it comes down to ultimately booking inside a program that you're looking for. This one, it's a tight market. They only have 1 available opening, and I can see this is $256.26 per month. We have all of this plugged into the system, and so this is a real starting price here. I'm not going to click that enroll button, but I am going to jump over here really quick to my test profile here so you can see what that looks like. I'll go ahead and click the enroll button, and we'll just go through a couple steps here just so you can see and get a good idea how easy it is for parents to use Tootris. We're going to go ahead and click a new application here. And then we're going to choose my children that I'm going to enroll in the program. I'm going to go ahead and pick Eric here. We are a smart system. So not only do we have a multi-payment functionality built in, where we can combine a parent's out-of-pocket, their subsidy payment, and if their employer is contributing, we also allow parents to enroll in multiple programs and even add existing additional enrollments into the same provider. This is really helpful. Lisa's making me work on Thanksgiving, so now I've got to add a second shift on my temporary shift in Clementine daycare. for the week of Thanksgiving because I thought I had it off, and now I guess I don't. So now I've got to add it in there. Thanks, Lisa. Hopefully I'll get some extra OT for that. And so what Tootris will allow us to do is, yes, even though I'm already enrolled in there, it's going to go ahead and make sure that that works. We're going to go ahead and do that shift here, 10 to 5. And then I'll just kind of end it here because I know we're almost out of time. This is showing you how easy it is to contribute. If you'd like to contribute to parents, it can make a huge impact, even if it's $50 a month. I'll take that $50 all day long. Childcare can be so expensive for parents. And if there is a contribution that you would like to offer your parents, we can combine that in. You saw it on the employee benefits earlier. And as you can see here, it's automatically deducted. My out-of-pocket was going to be $360.50, but because of my employer contribution, it got cut in half, and now my out-of-pocket is here. We manage all of this for you and include the reporting. So reporting is something you're putting your collective necks out from a company perspective and a reputation perspective every day when you're introducing new resources and tools and services for your employees. It's nice to be able to show a report, especially to management, the board, the powers that be, on how impactful this is. So you get a monthly report, you have a dashboard, you have all the visibility on where all the monies and efforts are going to, with or without a contribution. So you can see that your employees are using Tootris to find care, and therefore you can tie that right back in to top line growth and bottom line saving when you don't have to spend as much money and effort on churn and replacing candidates that shouldn't be leaving. You shouldn't have an employee have to turn in their badge because they don't have adequate childcare, right? That's not okay for anybody. And that's what we're really all about here. So, okay, I tried to do that as quickly as I can. And now I am just going to pull up this last screen, and I'm happy to take any questions. We, with the partnership with the CMM, we do have a link here, go.tootris.com/CMM. You can get a 15% discount on this solution for your organization. If you'd like more information, that's my info here on the left, eric@tootris.com. Happy to chat with you, happy to learn a little bit more about your unique circumstances and organization, and see if we can provide some helpful ways to solve your challenges.
Amazing, Eric. Thank you so much. I am really excited to bring this to my community, not just those who were able to stay for this, but I can't wait to get the recording up and share this with the human resources community that are connected with me. I want to encourage anyone to put their LinkedIn profile URL in the chat. Let's network and let's connect outside of the webinar, if possible, if that's of interest. There is one last poll question. This is regarding your recertification credits. Our webinar is approved for one HRCI and one SHRM recertification credit. That poll should have just launched. Let us know if you need an HRCI credit, a SHRM credit, or both, or if no credits are needed at all. Please remember, you must respond to all poll questions to be eligible for our sponsors buying you lunch through DoorDash. So please do make sure that you respond to that. That's why we added the no credits needed, so that you can all respond. And once I see 16 total participants, I'll close that, because you have to be in it to win it. So Eric, I do have a question. Does it matter how large the organization is to be able to utilize Tootris for their organizations? Is there an employer size that is ideal for this technology?
That's a great question. And no, we actually have starter packages. We have employers that have 10 employees or less. And that, I think, is a really good thing. There are solutions out there that are like, in any type of service, that are enterprise only or something like that. And the reality is that 99% of the ecosystem are, small, medium-sized businesses. Working parents are everywhere. And so we'll have a solution that fits any budget or employee size or demographic size. We're in 46 states. We'll have the rest of those stragglers by the end of the year. So if you've got a multi-state deployment, or you've got a remote policy, so you're now kind of free to hire employees all over the map. We're able to support them. It has to be an equitable solution. You can't roll out a benefit that just serves as some of your population. Working parents should have access to quality childcare, no matter what their zip code is, or their W-2 is, or anything in between. And that's what we're all about.
Awesome, awesome. So I will open it up to anybody in the chat. Do you have any questions for our sponsor, Eric Cutler with Tootris? And I have a few individuals that have not yet answered that poll question, and I am going to go ahead and close that poll that you must answer to be eligible for the DoorDash gift card, and that'll be closing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you to those participants. You will, as long as you got the answers correct in that chat, let me make sure to capture those as well. Awesome. And any questions for Eric Cutler with Tootris? Thank you so much. Great presentation. Eric, thank you so much for putting in your link to LinkedIn in there. Let me go ahead and grab mine as well. So we are right at the, let me make sure I've got my poll questions here. Perfect. Let's see, something just happened in the chat. We're just getting some thanks and a great presentation. Well, my friends, it has been a pleasure to bring this content to you. Thank you for being part of the CMM community. We look forward to seeing you next month with our December sponsor. So keep posted on the LinkedIn. That's where we're putting it all. And on our social media, you can find us at The Complete Manager Makeover on all of those social media. Thank you so much to Tootris and Eric Cutler for being part of our community today. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Bye now.